You have good days, you have bad days, you have good months, you have bad months, you have good years, you know, and you have bad years. So it's just a journey, and there's no time frame that says, okay, you should be healed from this in 3 months. Pack it away. Hi, I'm Angela Williams.
And I'm Katie Sudano.
And I'm a survivor of child sexual abuse.
And I'm a survivor of child sexual abuse.
Welcome to Voice Up for the Voiceless. We're so excited that you've tuned in with us today. Our podcast addresses the dark and deep and very difficult subject of child sexual abuse. Katie and I have really spent this year on this podcast, and we're so excited that we've been able to really unwrap a lot of the very difficult issues that survivors of child sexual abuse deal with. We've been able to interview some amazing survivors and hear their stories. We've been able to interview experts in the field that have given us tremendous advice on our healing journey. So it is our honor to come to you every week. We're so blessed to feel like we've made progress in our own healing as survivors.
We've learned I've learned so much.
Yeah, to be able to share that. So it's a new year, Katie.
It is almost, but on that note, please feel free to ring that little bell on the subscription tab if you are watching us on YouTube, and if you're watching us on other platforms, feel free to share it and comment. And we do our best to try to give the best prevention tips and resources and our own personal stories so that others can heal and we can move forward in a better society, a more healed society, right?
That's right. It's a silent topic. No one who really wants to talk about it. No, there's really not a place in community to talk about it.
Yeah.
Like our churches don't want to talk about it. Our schools don't want to talk about it. Our neighbors don't want to talk about it. So we hopefully, if you're a survivor and you are tuning in, we're here for you. We know. And if you know another survivor, it'll be great information to share and go, watch some of our previous podcasts. Not sure when this is going to air, but I think we're 30-something episodes in. So there's a lot of content there already
we've had
glean from.
34 during right now. So, So while you brought it on, when this airs, we're so excited because we have decided to do a 10-part series. And today is the introduction to that series. And we're going to tell you what each week will be about. But we are also going to be very vulnerable today. And we're going to tell and share our own personal stories, our past and our background and our feelings on each of these subjects.
So the name of the series is The Lies We Believe. And I was telling Katie before we came on the show, really believing these lies is such a barrier to your healing as a survivor of child sexual abuse. So if we can unpack all these lies that may be just kind of a conversation going on in your head and be able to recognize what the lie is and recognize what the truth is, then we can overcome it. And we can, as I say, we can replace it, that stinking thinking, with truth.
Absolutely.
And a lot of survivors have a lot of stinking thinking.
I call it BS.
BS.
But not the BS you're thinking of. It's BS belief systems.
Belief systems.
Yeah.
Good one, Katie. Good
Actually,
one.
I can't take credit for that. My husband gave that to me. Oh. He says that a lot.
So we're thankful that you've tuned in. We ask that you please subscribe. This information is so important. It's so important because it has a ripple effect. Because when we heal, as we have worked really hard on our healing, but as we heal, the ripple effect goes into generations to come. That's actually one of the lies I tell myself. Like, are we doing enough? Is what we're doing significant? And then it's funny how the Lord always brings someone in my path or a text or an email where they will reach out to us and thank us. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, thank you. I needed that. Well, when I hear that lie, I just look up to God and I say, God, I'm doing all I can do.
Yeah.
So when you're doing all you can do, that's all you can do. And I think being vulnerable and putting ourselves out here, I know there's some people that wish that we would just be quiet, especially in our families. But I feel like so rewarded, like you said, when we get those texts and we get those emails and we get those comments on the podcast of, that what we say is meaningful and that we are being an inspiration. And I think survivors need inspiration.
Yeah, we do. And
we suffer
I think
so
human
much
beings, we just want to be heard and being told, especially when you're doing something so difficult, like we're coming out here being very vulnerable. Even the Christmas one, I know that was tough for you, and that was a very vulnerable spot, and I'm proud of you for putting that out. And we'll see the comments, coming in, and yeah, it's just we want to be heard. I think everybody in general, but especially survivors.
Yeah, because we've been silenced for so long. So we're going to dive in, and we're not going to go too deep with these lies, but we've come up with 10 lies that we ourselves have struggled with and have believed for a season of our life, and 10 lies that really are stopping your healing if you're believing these lies, because you can't heal in a season of lies. You've got to heal in truth. And so often either it's from the abusers or it's from our community or our families. They have kind of cemented these lies into our minds. And so it's really hard to unwind the truth.
Would they have what in our minds?
Cemented it.
Cemented it.
Cemented it.
There's your
sorry.
No, don't apologize. I love it.
My southern accent, they have cemented it.
I just wanted to make sure I was hearing you properly. Cemented. Okay, cemented it.
Just cemented it.
I like how you say it better. Cemented. No, I can't. How you say it?
Cemented. And you
say it the way you do it.
Cemented.
Cemented. I'm going to say it like you.
Okay. So the first one we're going to talk about, number one. And as I said, this is going to be a series. So we're going to go deeper into all of these. We're going to kind of gloss over them today.
Yeah.
But we'll go deeper in the series. But the first one, I know that I have felt this. And this is the lie that says it was my fault.
Boy, hold on. Let's take a beat on that. Because I think across the board, I'm already starting to get emotional.
Do we need tissues?
Probably.
Okay.
That's a big one. That's huge, because I don't know any survivor of any type of abuse that hasn't said to me or expressed that they feel in some way, somehow it was their fault.
I know I felt it was my fault because my abuser told me it was my fault.
Yeah.
With every violation, with every, it's not another word for it, every rape, you're so pretty. You're irresistible.
Oh yeah, gosh.
I can't resist. You're forcing me to do this. And our sweet producer's handing us some Kleenexes that we're definitely going to need.
Yeah. Wow. I didn't expect this, to be honest, but
it's okay. It's a big lie.
It is. It's
huge. A hard lie because
and it's so cemented in our brains. It really is. Whether it's from our abuser or for our own. Just how could this have happened? It had to have been my fault. I had to have done something to, make this happen.
And that puts all the responsibility on the child and not on the abuser. And I heard something a long time ago that really has stuck with me. And it was, what age, they asked me what age your abuse started. And I said, well, it was 3. And they said, go look at a 3-year-old. Is there any way that a 3-year-old could have caused a sexual abuse incident?
Yeah.
No.
I'd like to, when we do our first week in the series, is really dive in, and I'll bring some research psychologically why that happens, apart from just people telling or, because you're right, a 3-year-old, how do we even come up with the fact that it's our fault? Especially if it's not really like you, it was told. But even the way it was told, it was kind of interjected in a way. It wasn't just bluntly said, it's your fault. Like how psychologically, why does that happen? Where does that come from?
And
so
how
that would
does
be
it get
interesting.
so seared in our minds? That's a hard one to break.
It is.
It's a really hard one to say.
And it trickles into everything in our lives. Anything that goes wrong in our lives, whether we know for a fact that we didn't have anything to do with it, somehow we still blame ourselves.
So if you're listening and you have that belief system that this was my fault, I want you to speak truth over your life right now. I want you to say, this was not my fault. The abuse that I suffered at the hand of my abuser was not my fault. It was the fault of the abuser, and it was the fault of all the bystanders in our lives that stood by and watched it happen.
That's hard. That's hard for people to say. But like we said, the first episode will give you really concrete tools to not only be able to say it, but to believe it, because that's another thing.
So you ready for number 2?
Yes, let's move forward.
I deserved it.
Oh, when I thought number 1 was bad. So number 2, I deserved it. Wow. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's a tough one. I've certainly been in a situation where I felt like, I don't know if deserve was the word I would have used, but overarchingly, that's the word. Like for when I was 14 at the beach and I was attacked, I always said I should have used the elevator. Why didn't I just use the elevator? I was so impatient and impulsive. I went on the stairs, and that's where I was attacked. And my gut told me to use the elevator, and I went against it. So I felt like maybe somehow I deserved it.
Well, I always felt it was punishment.
Yeah.
That I was being punished, because not all the time, but sometimes my abuse came with great physical pain, like really physical, horrendous torture or torment. And so I thought, well, this is punishment. I deserve this punishment because I'm bad.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just a bad girl. And that was really hard to overcome in the years of healing, that I'm not bad. Just because something bad happened to me doesn't make me bad. And that, you know, you don't deserve. There again, survivors, if this is a lie that you're dealing with, it says I deserved it, you don't deserve it. You didn't deserve it. You didn't deserve a second, not 1 second of abuse. No one does.
Even if you're older, like me with the rape, you know, I was 14 years old. I was flirting with the boy on the beach. But that doesn't mean that I wanted what he wanted. It doesn't mean that I deserve to be hurt in the way I was hurt.
No, we deserve to be respected, honored, cherished, loved. That's what we deserve.
Yeah.
That's what you deserve.
Yeah, but you carry that. It's hard. It's hard to overcome. It's hard to heal. It's hard to believe that we didn't deserve it. Yeah, that's what I meant.
Okay. All right.
Now what's number 3?
Number 3, no one will believe me.
Yeah.
You know, oftentimes our abusers are upstanding pillars of our communities. And how in the world would someone believe that they were capable of such an egregious act, such an attack on a child? How in the world would they believe that? And that my stepfather was pillar of the community, hardworking. If you would ask anybody about him, oh, he's a good man, he's a hard worker. That's what they would say.
They would say that about my abuser, but I had a different situation. My abuser admitted it twice. And it was kind of swept under the rug. Nothing really happened to him.
So I think in your situation, they believed it. They just didn't believe it was all that bad because
they minimized it.
They minimized it.
But I think that's one of our
things. Which is very tragic.
Right?
So it really, for our survivors out there, doesn't matter if anyone believes you or not. You have to speak to the truth.
Yeah, but a survivor says if they're not going to believe me, then why speak it?
Because it gets it out of here.
Yeah, no, I know.
There's more room on the outside than there is on the inside.
But that's what
and they
we're
may
going to
not believe you. Honestly, you may have people in your life that.
Well,
won't
look at our
believe
guest, Sarah, from New Zealand. They really didn't believe her, and she wasn't able to articulate it properly at first, and until later when other people came out.
But I promise you, there'll be someone in your life that will believe you and will respond with compassion.
And we're going to dive deep on that. We're going to dive deep on how to report so that you're believed, and how to respond versus react, those type of things.
Well, I think, too, when we dive into the believing is, I hear a lot, well, children make this up, don't they? And so less than 1% of disclosures are false. Less than 1%. And generally a child is coaxed, and maybe it might be in a divorce situation, but 99%.
Yeah.
Yeah, 99, it's a big number. So I hear that a lot. Don't kids just make this up? It's like, who would make this up? And
Yeah, I don't think
children
kids
don't
are
have
capable.
the vocabulary.
Yeah.
They don't have the vocabulary. They don't have the.
And usually it's not even a vocabulary. It's an action that they're doing that as parents, we would look at them, it's like, why are they pretend dry humping a stuffed animal, for example? Like they don't come up with that. That's a taught thing. And if they're doing that, you better get some help.
Get some help. So number 4 is a biggie. It really wasn't that bad.
Yeah. We hear that a lot.
That's a really big lie.
We have a lot of, I would say the majority of our guests that have come on, even a pretty, I don't want to name her out, I don't want to call her out, but someone we know very well, still when she talks about her abuse, she'll minimize it. And, abuse is abuse, pain is pain.
Yeah, and if it happened for a second, or it happened for months, or it happened for years, like in Katie and I's situation, or if you were commercially exploited, it is so traumatizing. So do not minimize your abuse. And you can't really heal when you're minimizing it and stuffing it down and saying, oh, it wasn't that bad, it wasn't that bad, it wasn't that bad. And I went through a season where when I ran away from home, I was 17. I was trying to survive. I was working. I was going to school. I was like, I had to stuff it down. I had to say, it's not that bad. I don't have time to deal with this right now. So I've been in that season, but it explodes. Trust me. It explodes.
It'll come out.
Yeah.
And or it doesn't explode. It'll trickle out into areas of your life where you just don't get it. You'll be like, why is this happening to me? Or why are people treating me this way? And it's always usually something that's going on within yourself that's, coming out subtly that you may not realize, but other people pick up on it. And it just makes life more difficult.
So lie number 5, I'm damaged beyond repair.
Yeah. That's another tough one. Especially for me, because I try to portray myself as all put together, and I'm not a perfectionist, and I don't ever want to pretend to be perfect, but I have heard other people think or tell me how I carry myself, how I do my social media. It always looks perfect. Oh boy, if they knew the truth. But I'm coming on the record. No, I'm on the record that it's not perfect, and I don't think anyone's life is perfect. No. But I think I did that because the reality is I think to myself that I'm not good enough. Isn't that, wait, am I getting off track?
No, it's another lie, but
what was the lie again? Oh my gosh, I lost track.
That's okay, that I'm damaged beyond repair.
Oh, right. So, yeah because I feel damaged, I put up this front that I'm perfect and that I'm great and then I've got it all together.
That's the mask, and we've been real vulnerable. I think there's not many masks left on us from these last 30-some-odd episodes. We've really tried to share our heart, kind of open up and just bleed for you. But I have believed that a lot. In my early teens, even I believe that. I think when I started talking about the abuse, that I just did feel so damaged that can I ever heal? I would always ask myself, will this pain ever go away? Will it ever stop?
I say that a lot.
Yeah, and I want to hope, and I want to share hope with you that you can heal, and it does get better. Time does heal wounds, and you're not damaged beyond repair. But we serve a big God, and He's in the healing 100%. Business.
The thing that, to be honest, what bothers me and what brings that, am I damaged beyond repair, is when something comes up and I feel sensitive about it, and somebody will say, can't you just let it go? If I hear let it go one more time, it's like, do you think I want to hold on to this? Yeah. Like, I do want to let it go. So when people tell me, oh, let it go, or stop basing all of your life situations on trauma. It's like, well, would you have responded that way on trauma? No, that's why I go back to the trauma, because it's not a normal way to respond to things.
And I kind of look at it this way, like when you have cancer, and if you have cancer and are struggling with that, we definitely have so much compassion and are praying for you. But if you have cancer, you can't ever not have had cancer.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
So you've been abused. I can't ever have not been abused.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
It's just part of our past. It's part of who we are now. Yeah.
And you know, for whatever reason, God's plans are bigger than our plans and higher than our plans. But, you know,
well, your analogy brings up a good point about the cancer. You may be in remission, but I feel like they're always going to have to get checked, or they do a little bit more and above and beyond than the average person just looking for their health. That's kind of like an abused person. It's not like we're always lingering and thinking about it. It's just we have to do extra steps in order to maintain our healthy mindset.
And Katie and I are called, like we're called to talk about it.
Yeah.
Like we feel like we can't. We've tried to be quiet. We tried to sit down. Right?
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work. So I think certain people have different callings on their life.
Yeah.
And our calling is to minister to survivors of child sexual abuse.
Yeah. And not to be silent, to be the example of it's okay to talk about it.
Yeah.
And it's okay when we're feeling a certain way to tell people we're feeling a certain way because of this, you know, instead of saying it's fine.
Yeah. So this one kind of plays in this lie to some of the other ones that we've talked about, but people will think that I'm lying, that I'm not telling the truth.
Yeah. Well, I've seen that in my own family where they've stated that they were abused, and then they'll start sharing details over time, and then people will sit back and go, you know, maybe, is he exaggerating about what really happened? Like, we know you were abused, but it was...
Was it really that bad?
Yeah. So, yeah, I can, I've had that too. I wrote about it in my book.
Yeah.
Have you had that?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yep. When I first left home, my mother didn't believe me, which was one of the biggest pills to swallow I think I've ever swallowed.
But she believes you now, right? Do you think?
Yeah, I guess.
I think people believe that it happened, but like you said, it was, they minimize it.
Yeah.
You don't have what?
Yeah. We try not to have conversations about it anymore because it just brings up all those bad memories and bad. So, as I said before, people can only love you with the tools they have in their toolbox, and you have to either accept that you want to be in this relationship and have good, strong boundaries and make it work, or you don't. And I love my mother, and I try very hard to
to maintain
to keep loving her.
Yeah, or this is terrible, but I hate it when I hear stories. This is not my story, but when I hear people say they didn't believe me until other people came out, or until and it's almost like, yeah, great, thanks, you believe me now, but what about the years I spent questioning myself, or, you know, doubting my own, you know, experience.
So if you're listening and you have a survivor in your life, it's real important that you support and encourage them, and that you believe them. I think for a survivor to hear, I believe you, and that was horrible, and express compassion. You know, you don't know what to say. Of course, it's horrible. And of course you gasp, and of course you can't wrap your head around how someone could do that to a child. But just hearing the words, I believe you, speaks volumes in the life of a survivor.
Even now as our age, for people to say, you know what, I believe you, I support you, I'm here with you. And, you know, if they're willing, give them a hug. Like, for sure. We need that sometimes.
So this is a really, number 7 is a difficult one too. It's really not abuse if it was someone that I loved.
Or youth on youth.
Or youth on youth. Yeah.
Because it's boys being boys or girls being girls.
And it's someone that you trusted, and sometimes we get so warped with the abusers convincing us that this is an expression of their love to us.
Yeah, or Stockholm Syndrome comes into play with that. Narcissism comes into play with that, where the abuser's so good at grooming and conning that they somehow just flip a switch in your brain to make you think that that's love and that's normal.
Yeah, so it's not love, it's manipulation and control. But we get confused in what is love. Is sex love? Because we were introduced to sex at such a young age, and our little minds don't understand that we're just totally being manipulated and controlled.
Yeah.
And my abuser got total power over me at a very young age through physical violence. I was so terrified of him, I would have jumped as high as he told me to jump, or do anything he told me to do, because I just didn't. I wanted to prevent the next beating.
And that leads into other relationships that you allow yourself to be controlled and manipulated. So you're lucky God had your back with Phil.
He did. He sent me a Prince Charming.
Me too.
That's for sure.
Me too.
So yes, it's abuse if it's someone that you've loved. So that's a lie. That that's not love. You know, taking power, control, taking your innocence. That none of that is love at all. So this one is another big one. I can't trust anyone. So we obviously were betrayed by our abusers, and some of us lump everybody in our life into that bowl of I can't trust anybody. I couldn't trust them. I put my heart out there. I was vulnerable. I was abused. So now I can't trust anybody, and that really impacts our other relationships, letting anyone in.
My experience with trust is so weird. And I don't know if there's anybody else out there with this, but like when I think of trust, I am so trusting with everyone. I don't know if it's because I want to be loved and heard and get attention, but then I look back at all my relationships that I've openly trusted so quickly. I'm like, but did I really trust them? Or was it a false sense of trust? And that I allowed them to then take advantage of me because I was so trusting. But then I look back and I'm like, wait a minute, I really didn't trust them. I was just wanting something in return.
Well,
so that's kind of a weird.
Yeah. I kind of have my guard out to people prove themselves. So I think I have spent time in my life thinking everyone was untrustworthy. But what I try to do is look at the fruit in people's lives. Like, do they have good fruit?
Yeah, but that's tricky. On the outside, they look like good fruit.
Yeah.
And then you take a bite and inside it's all rotten.
I say time always tells.
Yeah,
but
true.
Good fruit to me is good relationships in their lives. Are they there for me?
Yeah,
do
that's
they call
tricky.
me back?
That's true.
Do they say that what they're going to do? Do they walk in integrity? I mean, there's a lot of ways to.
But time definitely does tell. Because at first they do a very good job of letting us see that. And then all of a sudden, when they get what they want, they seem to switch.
So if you're having a hard time trusting, I would say not everyone is trustworthy, but certainly open your heart and try and just, tread cautiously, Don't throw yourself into a relationship, but at the same time, give people an opportunity to love you. And that's, oftentimes.
It's scary.
We're scared.
Yeah,
scared.
We don't want to get hurt.
Oh, this is a good one. Number 9, I'm not normal.
Ugh. I always called myself the black sheep. Yeah. But I don't know if that's
I've called myself the black sheep.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I'm always a black. I felt different from everybody, and I definitely never felt like a normal person, especially within my family. And then even with a group of friends, like on the outside, I would hang and I'd seem okay, but then I'd come home and I'm like, I'm not like them. It's weird.
It is weird. So if you're a survivor, you're telling yourself you're not normal. No, we aren't normal. but
who is? What is normal?
What is normal?
I know, really. Go. Yeah.
But we can still be loved, and we can still have healthy relationships.
Yeah, for sure.
And
I think I feel the most normal when I'm around people that understand me, that know me and love me with my quirks and my weird faces and my weird laugh and my funny voice, know.
You're right. People who accept us as we are.
Like I feel completely normal within my own little family. I feel normal around you.
Yeah.
Our producers, I feel normal.
I feel normal.
They've heard enough of our stuff.
Yeah.
They still have us on. So.
Yeah, but that's a lie that can keep us on the outside and keep us isolated and ostracized. And I don't think that's where God wants us. So, like you said, what is normal? I've learned to, and I released my book, Loving Me After Abuse. And that was a big thing. It's like I had to learn how to love myself.
Yeah.
And loving yourself is to say, hey, you're different, but you're okay.
You're
And
okay.
thank God that he made us all so different.
Yeah, for
you know?
sure. We're going
Different
to dive deep on
personalities.
that one. We'll have a lot of statistics and some research on that. What is normal?
So number 10, we're going to kind of wrap it up with number 10, but it's a big one too. I should be over this by now.
I forgot what 10 was. Now I'm curious. What is it?
That's why I just said it. I should be over this by now.
Oh.
The lie that.
Okay.
Did you think I was rapping with that?
I was like, wait a minute.
I should be over my healing. I should be healed, done, pack it away.
But we're roses. We've got many petals.
Well, I tell people too that healing is a journey. I'll till the day I die, I'll explain this, that you're on a journey and you have good days, you have bad days, you have good months, you have bad months, you have good years, you know, and you have bad years. So it's just a journey, and there's no time frame that says, okay, you should be healed from this in 3 months.
Yeah.
Pack it away.
For sure. Well, and we talk a lot about the amnesic wall. How can you truly be healed if you've got stuff behind that wall? And that's why a lot of people are like, why do I get triggered? Why didn't this bother me years ago and now it's bothering me? Well, because now it's time to bring up those forgotten memories, because God's allowing you to now finally face them because you're so much stronger. You're healed from all of this stuff. Now it's time to heal this.
And I tell people a lot too when I'm ministering to survivors that new grief brings up old grief.
New grief brings up old grief. Okay.
So if you have a grief in your life, you have, discord in a relationship, or you lose somebody you love, or you get a great disappointment in your life, that's grief.
Yeah.
And that taps into that scar, that wound, that brings up some old grief.
Yeah, for sure.
So I really, there is no time frame. That's why Katie and I are here on this journey with you to help you heal, because child sexual abuse, it's so complex. You have very complex emotions around it. You have often psychological issues, problems, disorders. I don't really like the word disorder because I don't like to label people, but it is a result of the trauma that you've been through, and it takes time to heal it. And I say I'll be healing to the day I die, and I'm happy about it. I'm very vulnerable with it.
But there's peace in the healing. It's not
peace.
Always work.
No, it's not always work.
And it's not always
joy.
difficult.
Yeah.
Some of it can be very...
I feel like this is part of my healing, being on this podcast and being able to share.
And it brings us joy. It's hard, but it brings me joy. Although, well, you're laughing. Sometimes I don't even want to commit. But but I have a plug.
Well, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. You say what you're going to say.
I was just saying, it brings me great joy, and just to feel so rewarded that I have been through something so horrible, but yet I can use it for God's good. And I love the verse, Romans 8:28, all things work together for good for those who love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. So I definitely feel and have for most of my adult life very called to this work.
Yeah, for sure. And it's... Yeah, and you can see the fruits of your labor. There's a lot of people you've helped, and we've even had guests on here that went to your retreats and who are doing their own ministry because of the healing that they had through you and your nonprofit. Speaking of that, I just do want to talk about a little plug. All this will be in our course.
Yes.
That will be released next year, 2025. Well, this year, because this will air in 2025. So, we're very excited. We think this course is going to be a huge, huge benefit to survivors, a tool to help in their healing, and we can't wait to release it. But these 10 things, definitely we have to
So
put it in
please
there.
comment if any of these 10 things that we've named, if any of them resonate to you in your life, because other survivors read our comments too. So you may be just not helping yourself or encouraging us, but helping another survivor.
Absolutely.
And
Yep.
Like I said, we're so grateful to be here, to be able to bring you this podcast, Voice Up for the Voiceless. We really do want to be a voice for survivors of child sexual abuse who've been silenced for so long.
Yep. And we want to thank, of course, Mesmerize Media for putting this together for us. And they're a huge part of bringing this out to you guys. And they do such a great job. So
if you're
kudos.
in the area and you need reels done or you want to start a podcast, please reach out to Mesmerize Media and we'll have their information in our link below.
As always, yep, for sure. And don't forget to subscribe. Ring that little bell if you're on YouTube. And share, of course, to everyone you know.
And I'd also like to do a plug. If you need resources, please visit angelasvoice.com. There's no apostrophe, just angelasvoice.com. Hit the resource page. There's just tons of information there. And reach out. I would love to help you. And if you want to support all the work that we do to break the silence and to provide hope and healing to survivors, please sponsor Angela's Voice.
Yep. You can sponsor the podcast if you want to do that too.
Absolutely.
That's on voiceupforthevoiceless.com/corporate sponsors, or you can donate, or you could just go to the website and we have a free download resource on the homepage. So take advantage of that.
Yeah. So I'm Angela Williams.
And I'm Katie Sudano.
Thanks for joining us today.
Bye.